Let's get Dr. Scholes on this issue, and let's get some questions here. Sent in, of course, I'll say it here at the top of the show. Send in your questions or your song submissions to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com. And, of course, also on Twitter, you can send questions using the hashtag CornyDriveThru. Our first question, Jim.
Yes, what is the first question from Charlie from Starkville, Mississippi?
That's not our first question. Our first question is from Mitchell Harger to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com. Hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly, Mitchell. Recently, Triple H said that Shane McMahon came up with the name D-Generation X. For years, it was rumored Vince Russo, most likely started by himself, came up with the name. Do you remember who actually came up with the name D-Generation X?
Well, I thought it was actually Sean and Hunter. But it's very possible it was Shane, and then but it wasn't Russo because, I think I was there when he heard this pitch to begin with. I think Vince McMahon told both of us, D-Generation X. Okay, I saw the play on words they were going for. They're degenerates, Generation X. It was something that Russo would like because it's something, straight off of Jerry Springer, but no. It was, I thought it was theirs, as I said, but they probably did, if he's admitting it, get it from Shane.
Well, there was a band, and it was a New York City band, D-Generation, in that period of time.
Well, there you go. Because, where else would you find a white millionaire kid from the suburbs of Connecticut rather than in the underground New York music scene? So I'm sure Shane was keeping up with all that stuff.
What was the pitch? What was Vince's pitch about D-Generation X?
Well, it wasn't a pitch. He was telling you, we're going to call him D-Generation X or however the fuck it was on a piece of paper when we showed up one day and then the notes for TV or whatever, as I recall. But it wasn't like we're sitting around, what do we call these guys? What do we call these guys? Hey, no, we heard about it. I never wanted to name it. When the writers start naming the top talents groups anyway, generally that's trouble to begin with. This stuff should come from them. It's, what they want to be called or whatever. As Bill Watts asked Dennis Condrey, y'all got a team name. How about Midnight Express? There you go. But no, it wasn't like there was endless meetings about we didn't even really know how long the fucking thing, they were friends and just wanted to hang out together. We didn't know it'd become this iconic group. I saw what they were doing. They just wanted to work together because they would take care of each other and they wanted to work against people who would take care of them. And so that they would, their little clique, and they'd stay over.
I was someone who at that period of time was watching everything, taping everything, getting tapes from all over the world. And I felt, especially during the D-Generation X period, the original one, that Shawn Michaels had go-away heat. I did not like it at all.
No, just the constant shit, whether, what was the time where he stuffed his pants and then while JR was in the ring trying to interview him, he just kept jumping up and down, sticking his phony padded crotch in JR's face or whatever. That's what got them over at the expense of the rest of the program. It's sort of like the Young Bucks today. When you let guys hijack the show and do shit that nobody else is allowed to do or ever should have been allowed to do, make it all about themselves and just wink, wink, then they get over at the expense of the rest of the program. That's apparently what happened with the Young Bucks and their ilk, their crew in Ring of Honor. They hijacked the program, did a bunch of goofy shit, got themselves over, and then said, see you later. And now how do you follow that with wrestling again?
It's interesting, too, because I'm not a big fan of the Young Bucks, as many probably realize by now.
No, I'm shocked.
But I especially didn't like them for a long time. I thought it was so lame. I couldn't understand why anyone thought this was a good idea. They were doing the suck it, like the crotch chops and the click hand signal. It has nothing to do with D-Generation X or the click, but it's like that's someone else's shit. It was so lame to me that they were adopting this stuff from 20 years ago. It seemed so lame, and thankfully they got away from it.
The whole too sweet thing, the too sweet me with the little hand thing. It's like, that's 20 years ago. I was doing the promos where I said the Click was like the fucking boys club in a treehouse. You know, no girls allowed, GURLS. Only in this case, it was no outside talent that doesn't suck up to us allowed in our little clique. And they were trying to keep the top spots. And Vince was letting them get away with it and doing that childish bullshit of Jerry. They fit right in with what Shitstain wanted to do. Jerry Springer show shit. That's where the fucking South Park parody of fucking wrestling just aired again on Comedy Central here last week or whenever. You know, it just that bullshit fucking that got them over, and they fit right in on it. And a few of the other guys, you know, but at the expense of the rest of the roster and the integrity of the program, the credibility of the program. And that's another thing that they haven't recovered from. You know, everybody wonders why the Attitude Era. It wasn't the biggest era for success in the history of wrestling to this day because it was so great. It was because it's the biggest success period in wrestling to this day yet because it was so hard to fucking recover from the Attitude Era. It's not been possible to recover from that yet. The Steve Austin and The Rock and the fucking Undertaker and the heavy stuff at the top of the cards that was really drawing and the personalities were over and the Goldberg hot streak or whatever. That's one thing. But all the damage done with the stuff underneath and the constant fucking expose of everything and not only that, but the mockery of everything being silly and fucking, you know, winked at, and the constant mind-numbing amount of angles and the constant bumping where nobody ever gets hurt and except for real and everybody comes back and the everything else about the Attitude Era, everything that Shitstain did really, and the people that followed that pattern. That's why we have not been more successful since then, because it's impossible to recover from that shit. The stars drew the money, and the stuff that was being done underneath and in every other promotion trying to copy all that bullshit because they didn't have the talent, they just copied the bullshit. That's what's been impossible to recover from, and probably always will be. And now they're just doing more silly shit. So we're, you know, the next round. You think how horrible would it be in 20 years if people were 20 years from now were saying, well, back when they used to draw 20 years ago instead of, you know, the big crowds, this could be big for 20 years from now because they're bringing it down to an ever smaller pie of people who like what the fuck it is that they're presenting. When it was presented as at least with a serious direction, and nobody was just blabbing about everything and exposing everything. And it was the personalities and who won and who lost and some credibility involved. We had a ton of people to draw from. And then the Attitude Era weeded some of those out and brought some new ones in that wanted to see some bullshit. But then those people that just wanted to see that bullshit went away because they got tired of the bullshit, and the people that wanted to see serious wrestling went away, and we were left with the hardcore fans, and now we're down to the group of people that either like to watch this to see a shit show like the average, you know, Young Buck fan, or the people that appreciate the art, which is still a limited pool. What are the next ones we're going to run off? Probably the ones that get so sick and tired of seeing all the silly shit when wrestling is supposed to be presented somewhat legitimately. And then it's going to be just the people that want to see just a fucking Saturday Night Live skit shit show. And then maybe then AEW will be the number one promotion. But I don't know why people can't see this. Did I just, in that timeline, did I say anything that was not correct?
I don't think so.
So why? All right, never mind.